On our silver wedding anniversary, my husband presented me with divorce papers instead of a gift. 25 years is long enough, he declared in front of all our guests. I want someone young now, and you need to be out of the condo by tomorrow. He seemed to have conveniently forgotten that my parents gifted me that condo. His mother, Celeste Price, simply smiled silently. I stood up, took the microphone, and said something that left him utterly speechless. That night, Naomi Sterling was awakened by hushed voices coming from behind the bedroom door. Her husband, Darren Price, was on the phone with his mother again at 3 a.m. His voice had an unusual, almost feverish excitement. Naomi lay motionless in the darkness, catching fragments of their conversation. We have to do this right, Darren insisted. She won't suspect a thing. Of course not, son, his mother replied. Naomi's muscles tensed. What exactly were they plotting in secret? And why was this happening now, just a few weeks before their milestone anniversary? The hardwood floor creaked as Darren made his way back into the room. Naomi quickly shut her eyes, pretending to be fast asleep. He slipped into bed with exaggerated care, but she could feel that his body was stiff and restless. The next morning, everything felt off-kilter. Darren was acting unnaturally affectionate. Naomi, my love, he said, kissing her cheek. He reeked of expensive cologne. How about we pick the restaurant for our anniversary today? I want everything to be perfect. Perfect. Naomi raised an eyebrow, questioning his motives. In 25 years of marriage, Darren had never shown such enthusiasm for a family celebration. She was always the one who organized everything, and he would only find fault. Fine, she replied cautiously, watching him hurry off to work. His cell phone was sitting on the nightstand, the screen illuminated with a notification. Naomi couldn't resist taking a quick look. It was a calendar reminder. Call us at 11 a.m. Who's this S you have in your contacts? She asked casually, while watering the plants on the windowsill. Darren spun around abruptly. For a fleeting moment, Naomi caught a glimpse of pure panic in his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Ah, Sanchez, a colleague from Seattle, he said. I'm just consulting him on a work issue. A lie. Naomi knew her husband like the back of her hand. When he lied, his left eye always twitched, just as it was doing at that very moment. I see, she replied, forcing a smile. But deep down inside, her chest tightened with dread. Once he had left, Naomi stood by the window, gazing out at the dreary October sky above Georgetown. 25 years, a quarter of a century. They had met in college. She was a bright and promising accounting student, and he was an up-and-coming manager. They had married for love, dreaming of having children and a large, happy family. But children never came. Doctors couldn't find anything wrong. But the miracle just never happened. Darren took it particularly hard, especially when his mother, Celeste, started making those passive-aggressive comments about grandchildren. In time, they had come to terms with being childless and focused on the positives. More time for themselves, for traveling, and for career advancement. But something essential had shifted between them. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Standing there was Celeste Price, her mother-in-law, wearing her usual frigid smile. Naomi, dear, she said, stepping into the condo without waiting for an invitation. How are you? Are you busy preparing for the party? Celeste always treated Naomi with exaggerated politeness, but maintained a considerable distance. In 25 years of marriage, she had never once called Naomi her daughter. Slowly but surely, Naomi replied, leading her toward the living room. Darren wants us to celebrate at a restaurant. Very good, Celeste responded brightly. A respectable venue with guests. Doing everything at home just doesn't adequately convey the importance of the date. She began looking around the living room as if she was assessing its value. Naomi knew that look all too well. It always made her feel, without a single word being spoken, that Celeste's suburban mansion was far larger and better decorated. By the way, Naomi, dear, Celeste said, settling comfortably into an armchair. I've been thinking about the future. Darren isn't so young anymore. He's 53 and well, we don't have any grandchildren. Don't you think it would be a good idea to write a will just in case for my grandkids? Naomi felt a sudden chill run down her spine. What grandchildren? Celeste sighed impatiently. We don't have any children. Well, for my nephews then, she said dismissively, waving her hand. I have 2 nephews, good boys, studying hard, working diligently. If we don't, the government will just take everything. Naomi carefully placed her teacup on the table. And where exactly do you keep the condo papers? Celeste asked suddenly, as if it were a casual afterthought. I'm just thinking about the boys' future. The nephews, the young people. That was it. Naomi finally understood the underlying message. They're in the safe, she replied dryly. But why do you ask? Oh, just in case. You never know what might happen. It's always good to know where these things are. When Celeste finally left, Naomi sat in silence, slowly piecing everything together. The late-night phone call, Darren's strangely exaggerated affection, and now Celeste's pointed questions about the deed to the house. Little by little, the puzzle was taking shape, and she definitely did not like the picture that was emerging. She decided to check Darren's computer. He had never changed the password before. He always used a simple key, the date they had met. But it didn't work this time. Her heart started to race. In 25 years, he had never kept secrets from her. She tried his birthday, but nothing. She tried his mother's birthday, but nope. Then it occurred to her to try their wedding date, but in reverse. And it worked. The browser history opened, and what she saw there gave her a knot in her stomach. How to divorce when shared assets exist. Spousal rights in property division. Legal advice for separation. He had been searching for all of this over the past 2 weeks. With trembling fingers, she scrolled through page after page. How to keep the condo in a divorce. Legal tricks for dividing assets. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was her friend Candace. Naomi, you won't believe what I just saw. It was Darren. I saw him at a jeweler's in Tyson's Galleria with a young woman. They were looking at rings. She was clinging to him, hugging him like there was no tomorrow. What did she look like? Naomi interrupted softly. Oh, about 30, blonde, very put together, wearing a super expensive coat. Pretty, but she seemed kind of superficial. And they were being so openly affectionate. Are you okay, Naomi? Yes. Naomi lied. Everything's fine. But nothing was fine. That evening, Darren came home with a bouquet of roses and a box of fancy chocolates. For my one and only true love, he said confidently, kissing her on the lips. One and only. How ironic, Naomi thought. She looked him straight in the eye. We need to have a serious conversation about our future. Darren stiffened. It was subtle, but she definitely saw it. Talk about what? He asked, turning on the television and pretending to be absorbed in the programming. Everything's fine, right? The anniversary is in just 1 week. All our friends will be there. Let's not spoil the mood with serious topics. We can talk after the party. Okay, after the party. That meant that something big was planned for the party itself. Naomi nodded, feigning acceptance, but she felt an icy coldness spreading through her veins. After 25 years, she knew her husband very well. He was calmly and coldly preparing something, probably involving his mother and most certainly a lawyer. What Darren didn't know was that Naomi had an ace up her sleeve. Something that could completely unravel all of his carefully laid plans. And for now, she wasn't going to tell him a single thing. The next day, Naomi woke up with a knot in her stomach, as if a terrible tragedy had struck the day before, and she was just beginning to learn how to live with it. Darren left early without eating breakfast. I have a meeting, he said. A meeting? Naomi thought bitterly. She knew exactly who that meeting was with. At 11 a.m., the home phone rang. Darren had forgotten his cell phone, leaving it face down on the kitchen counter. Naomi didn't answer, but the answering machine recorded the message. Dee, it's Mom. I spoke to Mr. Hayes. Everything can be arranged. The important thing is that she doesn't suspect a thing until the very last moment. Call me when you're free. Hayes. the supposed Seattle colleague. Now it all made perfect sense. Naomi felt the ground give way beneath her. 25 years, a quarter of a century, spent beside a man who was now planning her betrayal as casually as if it were some mundane office paperwork. She walked over to Darren's phone. It required a 6-digit code. She tried the date they had met, September 1st, 1999. Nope. She tried Celeste's birthday. Nothing. Then she remembered the blonde from the jewelers. Her intuition told her to try March 8th, International Women's Day. And it worked. The lover's birthday. The text messages confirmed everything. Sierra, my love, just a little more patience. After the anniversary, everything will be resolved. The condo will be ours. Dee, you said we'd be living together by New Year's. I'm tired of hiding. My love. Everything is going according to plan. Mom has already taken care of things. Naomi suspects nothing. Hayes says, if we play this right, she'll only get half. I'll keep the condo. Naomi slumped into a chair, her hands shaking uncontrollably. They were planning her life as if she were just a piece of second-hand property. Darren, his mother, the lawyer Hayes, the mistress Sierra, all tangled together in a carefully constructed trap where she was the unsuspecting prey. And the worst was yet to come. Hey, Mom, are you absolutely sure that the condo title is in both of our names? Maybe we got lucky and it's just in my name. Son, I saw the copies when you bought it. Both names are on it. But Hayes says there are ways. The important thing is that she signs the waiver. And if she won't sign, she will sign. After what we're going to do to her at the party, she won't have any other option. What exactly were they planning to do to her? Naomi felt a surge of anxiety rising in her throat. They were going to humiliate her in front of everyone, accuse her of something. Without wasting a single moment, she copied all of the important messages to her own phone and then put Darren's phone back exactly where she had found it. She needed a plan. She needed help. She called Aisha Cole, her college friend, who was now a successful family attorney. They didn't talk as often as they should, but their friendship remained strong. Naomi? Aisha said when she answered the phone. Long time no talk. How are you? Can we meet today? Naomi asked, trying her best to sound calm and collected. I need a consultation. Sure, I'm free at 6. Come down to the office and we'll talk. Aisha's office was located downtown in a modern high-rise building. She greeted Naomi with a warm hug, but immediately noticed the underlying tension. Sit down. Tell me everything. What's going on? Naomi took a deep breath. Let's just say that an acquaintance of mine is having some trouble with her husband. He wants a divorce, but he's hiding it, and it seems like he's setting a trap. Aisha looked at her intently. Are you sure this is just a hypothetical acquaintance, Naomi? Naomi remained silent for a few seconds. Then she told her everything. The late-night phone calls, the incriminating text messages, Sierra, her mother-in-law's scheming, absolutely everything. Aisha listened intently, occasionally asking for clarification. I understand, she said finally. This is serious, but you're not helpless. The good news is that you reacted in time. Tell me about the house. When did you buy it? Whose name is on the title? We put both names on it back in 2005. Equal shares. Are you formally employed? Yes, I'm the controller at Alliance Development Group. I've been there for 15 years, and the weekend cabin is also in both names, but it's not worth much. The condo is our main asset. Aisha jotted down a few notes. Naomi, they can't do anything to you if you keep a clear head. In a divorce, everyone receives what is legally theirs. No one can force you to waive your share, but it's clear that they are planning something dirty. They want to put you in a weak emotional position. A scandal, an accusation, something to break you. You need to be ready. How do I prepare? Gather evidence. Take photos of the text messages. Record conversations if you can. Move some of the money into an account that's only in your name. Most importantly, don't let them know that you know what they're doing. Naomi nodded slowly. For the first time in days, she felt something close to relief. She had a plan. She had support. Thanks, Aisha. How much do I owe you? Aisha smiled warmly. Nothing, girl. Friends don't charge. Just keep me in the loop. And remember, no matter what happens, you are not alone or defenseless. Naomi returned home, determined to put her plan into action. But what she found upon arrival made it clear that the war had already begun. Darren was standing by the entrance, checking himself in the mirror. You look kind of run down today, huh? He blurted out without even looking at her directly. Forgive me for saying so, Naomi. But yes, you've let yourself go a bit lately. Look, turning 50 isn't the end of the world, but you really need to take better care of yourself. Go to the gym, see the dermatologist, get something done. I saw Candace's daughter today. She's 30, but she looks 25, very polished. And you? Well, you understand. He was comparing her to younger women, setting the stage to justify his upcoming betrayal. I have a meeting tomorrow, he announced suddenly. It's Saturday, but it will take all day. Another date with Sierra. That's fine, Naomi replied calmly. And on Sunday, I'm going with Mom. I'm going to set up her new smart TV. Spending time with the trader's family. That night, when Darren was in the shower, Naomi reviewed their joint bank account online. In the past month, $30,000 had been withdrawn in a series of transactions. Gifts for Sierra, payments to the lawyer, and who knows what else. All paid for with their shared money. Naomi let out a nervous, brittle laugh. They were using her own money to plan her downfall. But she still had an ace up her sleeve. Something that they didn't know about. A week prior, a letter had arrived from a notary. Her Aunt Josephine, her father's older sister, had passed away in Germany. She had no children or spouse. She had left her entire estate to Naomi, her only niece. This included a condo in Munich valued at $800,000 equivalent, a bank account with $570,000 equivalent, and another luxury investment condo in Miami Beach, Florida. A total value of over $3 million. Naomi hadn't told anyone. She had wanted to surprise Darren on their anniversary, but now that money and property were her salvation. She opened her laptop and began researching how to register the inheritance, transfer the funds to her personal account, and legally protect herself from the people who saw her as a fool. Darren thought he held all the cards, but the game was only just beginning. On Monday, Naomi woke up with a clear plan in mind. First, she visited a notary, but not the one handling her aunt's case. She went to see an old acquaintance. Mr. Perry, the real estate lawyer who had helped them purchase the condo years ago. Naomi Sterling, how many years has it been? And how is Darren Price doing? Mr. Perry, an older gentleman, greeted her with a warm smile. Mr. Perry, I need your help, she said, stepping into his office. But it has to be strictly confidential. The lawyer's face grew serious. Sit down. I'm listening. Do you remember our condo on M Street in Georgetown? You handled the title work back in 2005. Of course. A very good unit in a fine building. Do you recall who purchased it initially? I mean, where did the money come from? Mr. Perry frowned, opened an old file, and searched for a moment. Here it is. It was an unusual case. The money came directly from your parents' account, and in the deed of gift you are listed as the sole recipient. Darren was added 2 months later as your husband. Naomi felt a surge of warmth in her chest. So, it's formally considered a premarital asset? Formally, yes. Your parents gifted it to you before Darren's name ever appeared on the documents. In case of a divorce, that could make all the difference. He could only claim something if he could prove that he invested in major renovations. Naomi smiled faintly. Darren had never spent a dime on the condo. She had done absolutely everything herself. Could you give me a confirming document? Of course. Come back tomorrow afternoon. It will be ready. Leaving the office, Naomi felt like a different person. After so many days, she finally felt strong and protected. But what awaited her at home left her breathless. A courier delivered a thick envelope from Germany. The final papers for Aunt Josephine's inheritance. Naomi read through the documents with the help of a summary. A condo in Munich valued at $800,000. a bank account with $570,000, and a luxury investment condo in Miami Beach, more than $3 million in total. She sat down in the living room. She was now a wealthy, independent, and free woman. But Darren couldn't know about it. Not yet. Her phone rang. It was Darren, his voice overly cheerful. "Naomi, my love, I was thinking, what if we really went all out to celebrate our anniversary? Colleagues, friends, absolutely everyone. Why such a big deal, Dee? Why now? It's 25 years, our silver anniversary. I want everyone to see what a perfect family we have." He had already reserved the ballroom at the Watergate Hotel for 100 people. 100 people to witness her public humiliation. "Isn't that a little expensive, Darren? We're supposed to be saving." "Don't worry about it," he interrupted. "The money is there. The important thing is the impression we make. We'll invite my boss, yours. Everyone needs to see how happy we are." What a cynical lie. "Fine," Naomi said calmly. "Whatever you say." "Perfect. I have a meeting with some partners. We'll talk again tonight." Partners. Naomi knew exactly what that meant. That afternoon, Celeste Price arrived with a gift. "Naomi, dear," she said in a sugary voice, handing her an envelope. "This is from me to you." It was a consultation with an excellent family lawyer. Just in case, you never know. Naomi opened the envelope. A business card, Hayes & Associates, Divorce and Property Law, with a handwritten note that said, "Free consultation, anytime." The sheer audacity. They were giving her a consultation with the very lawyer who was planning her betrayal. "Thank you," Naomi said dryly. "Very thoughtful. I worry about you, daughter." Daughter. For the first time in 25 years, her mother-in-law was calling her that, just before stabbing her in the back. After Celeste left, Naomi started to clean. In one of Darren's jackets, she found a crumpled card. "Mr. Hayes. Family law, divorce, asset division, alimony." The same lawyer, the same plan. Darren came home late that night, cheerful and smelling of expensive perfume. He hugged Naomi. "Everything is ready. Restaurant menu, guests, it's going to be unforgettable." Naomi looked at him coldly. He was right. It was going to be unforgettable, just not in the way he imagined. "Dee, what cologne are you wearing? That's not yours." He hesitated. "I was on the elevator with our neighbor. She wears a very strong perfume, and it must have clung to my jacket." One lie after another. "By the way," he said, walking toward the window, "at the anniversary, I'm going to give a very special speech about our life and our future plans." "What plans?" "You'll see. It's a surprise." A surprise. Naomi felt a chill run down her spine. She couldn't sleep that night. Around 2 a.m. she heard a muffled voice. Darren was on the phone in the hallway. She got up quietly and pressed her ear against the bedroom door. "Mom, everything is perfect. The restaurant is booked. The guests are confirmed. After the toast, everything will just happen." "Are you sure she doesn't suspect anything?" "How would she suspect? She's as naive as a child. She's always trusted me, and she still does. And if she doesn't want to sign the papers, she will sign. After what I tell her in front of everyone, she'll have no other option. Everyone will see what she's really like, you know." "Dee, don't you think it would be better to do it privately at home, without all the drama?" "No, Mom. It has to be in front of everyone. That way, she won't be able to make a scene or demand explanations. She'll just go straight home, and Hayes will be waiting for her there with the papers. Quick, clean, and no drama. And Sierra already knows. In fact, she's even coming to the anniversary. I want her to meet my colleagues. I'm going to introduce her as my new assistant." "You're cruel." "It's not cruelty, Mom. It's being practical. 25 years was enough. I deserve to be happy, too, even if it's at her expense." Naomi went back to bed, but she still couldn't sleep. So Sierra was going to be at the party, too. She was going to witness the humiliation of her rival and then seamlessly take her place in their home. That's what they thought, anyway. In the morning, Naomi went to the bank. She opened a personal account and transferred half of the money from their joint savings. If Darren wanted to continue spending on his mistress, he would just have to do it with his half. Then, she went to see the lawyer to get the document confirming that the condo was hers from before the marriage. Next, she went to work. "Mr. Budrow," she said to her boss, stepping into his office. "Can I have a word with you?" "Of course, Naomi Sterling. Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine for now. I just wanted to warn you that I will soon be entering a somewhat difficult personal phase." "Divorce?" he asked, frowning. "Seriously? I thought you two were rock solid. You even invited me to your anniversary." "That's exactly why I wanted to give you a heads up. If things go wrong, I hope I can count on your support. My work won't be affected. You are the best controller we've had in 15 years. Whatever happens, your job is safe." That night, while Darren was at yet another meeting, Naomi took out the inheritance documents. She needed a clear, well-thought-out plan. The Miami Beach condo was empty. Aunt Josephine had been renting it out, but the contract had ended a month ago. Naomi could move there after the divorce. With the money in the German bank, she would have financial independence for years. And most importantly, she had the document proving that the DC condo was hers from before the marriage. Darren would never see that coming. Naomi carefully placed all the papers in the safe and smiled. On Thursday morning, she went to the German consulate. She needed to formalize the inheritance in order to access Aunt Josephine's accounts. The consul, an older gentleman with a neatly trimmed beard, reviewed the documents carefully. "Everything is in order, Mrs. Sterling. Your aunt was a very prudent woman. The bank accounts will be unlocked in 1 week. And regarding the Miami Beach condo, ownership passes to your name immediately. Here are the papers. You can dispose of it as you wish." Naomi carefully placed the documents in her bag. She now owned 3 properties, over $1 million in cash, and most valuable of all, complete freedom. That same day, she opened another account in euros to prepare for the international transfer. The bank advisor, a young woman, looked at the figures in the documents with wide eyes. "Wow, you did very well with the inheritance, didn't you?" "Yes," Naomi smiled. "My aunt was an incredible woman." Leaving the bank, she felt a tremendous weight lift from her shoulders. For the first time in years, she felt truly free and independent. She no longer cared what Darren was planning. That was no longer her problem. But the surprise that was waiting for her outside the Watergate. The hotel incident hit her hard. She'd popped in to finalize the arrangements for the anniversary bash, and smack dab by the entrance, this young blonde in a ridiculously expensive coat was yapping away on her phone. Honey?" Sierra was cooing in this sickeningly sweet voice. "It's unbelievable. The ballroom is enormous. The decorations are just to die for. You promised we'd be living in a huge condo soon, and I can already picture throwing parties there." It was Sierra, her husband's little side piece, and she was standing just a few feet away, blabbing about the life she planned to build with him. Naomi just froze, watching her. No question, the woman was attractive, probably around 30, killer figure, perfectly coiffed hair, immaculate nails, but her eyes were just empty, cold and calculating. "Of course, I get that tomorrow's going to be rough," Sierra continued, oblivious. "But you said after your speech she'd finally get it, and I'll be right there as your new assistant. Isn't that romantic?" "Romantic? Publicly humiliating your wife?" Naomi took a few steps closer. "Excuse me?" she said, her voice steady. "Do you know where I can find the manager?" Sierra swiveled around, gave Naomi this condescending once-over. "No clue," she snapped. "I don't work here," and she went right back to her phone. "Duh. There's some lady here asking me questions." A pause, then, "Okay. See you tonight. Love you." "Some lady?" Naomi repeated under her breath, a faint smile playing on her lips. Tomorrow, that lady was going to deliver one hell of a surprise. The restaurant manager, a kind-faced, pleasantly plump woman, greeted Naomi with a warm smile. "You're here about tomorrow's anniversary, right? Mr. Price already took care of everything." Ballroom for 100, banquet, live music. Naomi nodded, then asked, "And how much did all of this cost?" "Your husband wanted the absolute best. 45 grand to humiliate her in front of everyone she knew." Naomi simply nodded. "I see. Could I take a look at the ballroom?" "Absolutely." The room was ridiculously lavish. Soaring ceilings, sparkling crystal chandeliers, pristine white tablecloths, massive mirrors lining the walls. Every guest would have a front row seat to the upcoming spectacle. "Where will the microphone be for the toasts?" Naomi inquired. "Right here in the center," the manager replied. Mr. Price was adamant that everyone be able to hear him clearly, of course, so no one would miss a single syllable of her public evisceration. Back at home, Darren was a bundle of nerves, pacing the floor with a piece of paper in his hand. "Ah, Naomi!" he exclaimed, quickly shoving the paper out of sight. "Where were you?" "At the restaurant, double-checking everything. What did you think?" "Impressive," he said, trying to sound casual. $45,000 for a single night. "Seriously, Dee, don't you think that's a little excessive? We have other plans, remember?" "Don't sweat it," he scoffed, waving his hand dismissively. "The money's there. The important thing is making a good impression on the guests. Or on the mistress." That night, Celeste Price, Darren's mother, arrived bubbling with excitement. "Darren, darling, are you all set? Did you rehearse your speech?" "Of course, Mom. Everything will be perfect. Don't you worry." She patted his shoulder reassuringly. "Your speech is going to be a smash. Everyone will see that you made the right decision." The right decision. Naomi watched them from the kitchen, the rage simmering inside. "Mom, what if she makes a scene?" Darren asked, his voice laced with anxiety. "She won't," Celeste declared confidently. "With that many people around, she'll keep it together. She's a well-educated woman. They'll sort things out in private later. And Hayes, is he ready?" "Yes, the papers are all prepared. All she has to do is sign. After your speech, she won't have any other choice." Quietly, Naomi slipped into the bedroom and retrieved her own documents from the drawer. She had everything meticulously prepared. She placed all the important papers into a slim folder. The deed proving the condo was hers before the marriage, the inheritance documents, and the statement for her brand new bank account. Tomorrow, those documents were going to change everything. Later that night, after Celeste had left, Darren locked himself away in his study. Naomi could hear him rehearsing his speech, muttering the words to himself. She crept closer to the door, straining to listen. "Dear friends, today is a very special day. 25 years ago, I made a decision that seemed right at the time. But life moves on, people evolve, and sometimes you have to have the guts to admit your mistakes." Mistakes. 25 years of marriage were his mistake. I'm grateful to Naomi for these past years, but honesty compels me to speak the truth. We're different people with different values, different visions for the future, and I've made a decision. The rest of his words were muffled, but the meaning was crystal clear. Naomi quietly retreated to the bedroom. Sleep was out of the question. The next morning, Darren bounced out of bed, practically radiating cheerfulness. "Naomi," he said, adjusting his tie in front of the mirror. "Today is going to be a fantastic day." "Yes, our anniversary." "More than that," he replied, flashing her a strange smile. "Tomorrow your life is going to change forever. And so is mine. Completely. Completely? You'll see. It's going to be a real surprise." "Surprise? Dee, can I ask you something?" "Sure, what is it?" "Did you ever really love me? Truly?" He froze, his tie halfway knotted. "What a bizarre question. Why are you bringing that up on such an important day?" "Just curious." "Of course I loved you," he said, avoiding her gaze. "And I still love you, in my own way." In his own way, like someone who takes care of an old piece of furniture that has outlived its purpose. "I understand," Naomi said softly. Throughout the day, Darren was a whirlwind of activity, constantly on the phone with the restaurant, double-checking the guest list, barking out orders. By evening, he was visibly agitated. "Are you ready, Naomi?" She stood before the mirror, admiring herself in a new, elegant dark blue dress she had bought specifically for this occasion. "Ready. Then let's go. It's time for the truth to come out." The truth. Naomi grabbed her purse, the one holding her crucial documents. Yes, it's time for everyone to know the truth. They barely spoke during the drive. Darren was a nervous wreck, drumming his fingers incessantly on the steering wheel. Naomi watched the city lights blur past the window. 25 years ago, they had also driven in silence to the courthouse. But that silence had been filled with excitement and anticipation. Today, it was the quiet before a major storm. "Naomi," Darren said as they pulled up to the hotel, "no matter what happens today, I want you to know that I wish you the best." "The best? What a cruel joke." "Thank you, Dee," she replied, offering him a serene smile. "And I wish you receive exactly what you deserve." The ballroom at the Watergate Hotel was a glittering spectacle. 100 guests were seated at round tables adorned with white roses and gold candles. At the head table sat the hosts. Naomi smiled and accepted congratulations, but inside, she was wound tighter than a drum. The explosion was coming any minute. "Naomi, you look absolutely stunning tonight," said Marina, a co-worker. 25 years together. How incredibly romantic. "Yes," Naomi said, her eyes scanning the room. "Completely unexpected. All of it." Over in one corner of the room stood Sierra, Darren's mistress. She had been introduced as his new marketing assistant. Young, pretty, and dressed in an obscenely expensive dress. She was chatting casually with some colleagues, acting as if nothing was amiss. "Darren Price, congratulations on your anniversary," boomed Mr. Michael Budrow, the CEO of Darren's company. "It's rare to see such steadfast couples these days." "Thank you, Mr. Budrow," Darren replied, pumping his hand. "Today is indeed a special day. I even prepared a very special speech." A speech? Naomi's throat suddenly went dry. Celeste Price was flitting from table to table, soaking up compliments about her wonderful son and the perfect wife he had chosen. Her eyes sparkled with smug satisfaction. She knew exactly what was about to unfold. At a small table in the back, a man in his 50s wearing a somber dark suit sat looking serious. Naomi didn't know him personally, but she recognized him from a photo. Mr. Hayes, the lawyer. He was there, ready and waiting, in case a signature was needed. "Dear guests," the master of ceremonies announced, his voice amplified by the microphone. "May I have your attention, please? Darren would like to say a few words in honor of his wife." A hush fell over the room. Everyone turned toward the head table. Darren stood up, grabbed the microphone, and beamed at the crowd. "Friends, thank you all for being here on this incredibly important day. 25 years is no small feat. It's a quarter of a century spent with one person." The guests nodded in agreement, raising their glasses in anticipation. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about our life together," Darren continued. "About what brought us together, what made us happy, and, well, what didn't so much." Naomi's muscles tensed. It was starting, she thought. "And I've come to a very important realization. People change. What seems right when you're young can eventually turn out to be a mistake." The ballroom grew noticeably quieter. People began exchanging puzzled glances. 25 years ago, I chose the woman who would be my partner in life, guided by the emotions of youth. But life has taught me to see things more clearly." "Darren?" Naomi murmured, a warning in her voice. "What are you talking about?" "The truth, my dear. It's time to stop living a lie." He turned to address the guests, his voice now harder, more resolute. "Dear friends, I want to be completely honest with you all, and with myself. For 25 years, I've been living a life with a woman who simply isn't right for me. A bland, boring woman who doesn't know how to be a partner to a successful man." A wave of surprised murmurs swept through the ballroom. "Darren, are you out of your mind?" someone shouted. "Quite the opposite," he replied calmly. "I'm finally thinking clearly. Naomi needs to understand this. Our marriage is over. I'm filing for divorce. The room was in shock. Some gasped. Others clutched their chests in disbelief. His mother, Celeste, however, was beaming with triumphant glee. Furthermore, Darren continued, growing bolder with each word, I want a fair division of assets. Naomi will have to leave the condo. It's time for a new life, new relationships. He cast a pointed glance at Sierra, the blonde mistress, who was standing in the back, barely able to contain her smug, victorious grin. Is this some kind of sick joke? A woman asked, clearly bewildered. Are you in your right mind, Darren? His boss demanded. More than ever, he retorted coldly. I have the right to be happy, and I intend to exercise it. Naomi will receive whatever the law dictates, and will separate amicably. And that young girl is your new conquest? One of Naomi's friends shouted, pointing accusingly at Sierra. Sierra is a wonderful woman. She understands what I need, Darren declared openly. Unlike certain other people, that was the last straw. Naomi slowly rose to her feet and gently took the microphone from her stunned husband. Thank you, Darren, she said in a quiet, almost sweet voice. That was very honest. The room fell completely silent. Everyone expected tears, hysterics, for her to run from the room in humiliation. You know, dear friends, Naomi continued, her voice steady and calm, Darren is right about one thing. Enough with the lies. And I want to speak the truth, too. Darren frowned, sensing that something was terribly wrong. This definitely wasn't part of his carefully orchestrated script. The truth is, I've known about this whole charade for the past 3 weeks. I knew about Sierra, about the lawyer Hayes, who's standing right over there in the corner, and about your elaborate plan to trick me into signing away my rights to the condo. Mr. Hayes' face turned ashen, and he tried to slip away unnoticed, but several angry guests blocked his path. Naomi, what are you babbling about? Darren stammered, trying to regain control. That your little scheme has completely backfired, darling. You see, she said, smoothly extracting a folder from her purse. You made one tiny but crucial mistake. Our condo isn't a shared asset. It was a gift from my parents in my name long before we were ever married. And I have the deed from the real estate lawyer to prove it. Darren stumbled backward, his face draining of color. That can't be. And what's more, Naomi continued, pressing her advantage, 3 weeks ago, I received a rather substantial inheritance from my Aunt Josephine in Germany. A condo in Munich, another luxury condo in Miami Beach, and over $1 million in cold, hard cash. The silence in the room was absolute, broken only by the faint hum of the chandeliers. So, what property division were you talking about? You can have half of the cabin and half of your car. Everything else is mine. Sierra, who was now clinging to the wall for support, turned ghostly white. And now for the really fun part, Naomi said with a dazzling smile. Do you have any idea how much your successful man spent on this little play to publicly humiliate his wife? A whopping $45,000 of our joint savings. A collective gasp of outrage rippled through the room. But I'm not petty, Naomi continued, her eyes gleaming with righteous anger. Darren, you're free. Take your wonderful woman, as you so eloquently put it, and live wherever you like. Just not in my condo. Wait, Darren whispered, his voice cracking with desperation. We can talk about this. There's absolutely nothing to talk about. I'm filing for divorce first thing tomorrow morning. And Mr. Hayes can go home. I certainly don't need his services anymore. She then turned to face the stunned guests. Dear friends, I sincerely apologize for ruining your evening, but sometimes the truth is far more important than appearances. Thank you all for coming. Now you know exactly who everyone is. Naomi placed the microphone back on the table and walked toward the exit, her head held high. Behind her, all hell broke loose. Darren, you are a complete and utter scoundrel. A woman shrieked. How could you do something like that to your wife? 25 years, and you pull a stunt like this. Sierra tried to slip away unnoticed, but a furious mob of guests blocked her path. "And what about you, you home-wrecking hussy? Did you really think stealing another woman's husband would be so easy? Have you no shame?" Celeste Price was running from table to table, desperately trying to explain, but no one was listening. Meanwhile, Naomi stepped out of the restaurant and inhaled the cool night air. Freedom. She paused at the door and glanced back at the chaos unfolding inside. Through the large windows, she could see the house of cards Darren had spent months constructing collapsing in spectacular fashion. He was standing in the middle of the ballroom, pale and bewildered, like an actor who had completely forgotten his lines. The microphone lay discarded on the floor, and guests were yelling at him from all directions. Mr. Michael Budrow, the CEO, approached him, his face a mask of disapproval. "Darren Price, I am deeply disappointed in you after that disgraceful display. I think we're going to have to seriously reconsider your position in the company." "But, Mr. Budrow, you don't understand," Darren stammered, his voice trembling. "It's not what it looks like." Naomi twisted everything. "Twisted? Hardly," interjected Marina, one of Naomi's co-workers. "We all heard what you said. 25 years enduring a colorless woman. Aren't you even a little bit ashamed?" In another corner of the room, a different drama was playing out. Sierra, finally realizing that her dream of living in a luxury condo was dead in the water, was shoving her way through the throng of angry guests. "Dee!" she shrieked, grabbing Darren's sleeve. "What's going on? You promised me a condo. Where's the money you gave me for our new life?" "Shoo!" Darren hissed, nervously glancing around. "Not here." "Why not here?" Sierra yelled, growing increasingly hysterical. "I've been waiting for 3 months. You said we'd be living like royalty after the divorce, and now what?" Guests turned to stare, their curiosity piqued, some already recording the scene on their cell phones. "Stop it, Sierra," Darren pleaded, his voice laced with desperation. "We'll talk later." But Sierra just let out a bitter, almost hysterical laugh. "Talk about what? You don't have a condo and you don't have any money. You completely fooled me." She turned to address the captivated audience. "Do you want to know the truth? This successful man has been promising me the world for the past 3 months. He bought me jewelry with his wife's money. He promised me a huge downtown condo." "Seer, shut up," Darren screamed in desperation, but it was too late. "And he also took out loans using their shared assets as collateral," she spat out, completely losing control. "He thought his wife would never find out. He took out $20,000 from Chase Bank and another $15,000 from Wells Fargo. And he spent it all on me." The room fell silent. Even Naomi hadn't been aware of that particular transgression. Celeste Price, who had been desperately trying to remain inconspicuous, rushed toward him, her face contorted with fury. Son, what is this woman saying? What loans? What inheritance of Naomi's?" "Mom, now's not the time," Darren mumbled, his voice barely audible. "Not the time? I mortgaged my own mansion to give you money for the lawyer. And now what? How am I supposed to pay that back?" Even his mother was now in debt because of his harebrained scheme. Wait a minute," one of the guests interjected. "Did I understand correctly? The 3 of you were plotting to deceive Naomi?" "Not 3, Sierra injected venomously. 4. The lawyer Hayes too. He was supposed to make her sign the waiver to the condo." Everyone turned to look at the corner where Hayes had been sitting, but his chair was empty. The lawyer had already made a hasty exit. "That snake!" Celeste Price shrieked, lunging at Sierra. "This is all your fault. You drove my son completely insane." "My fault," Sierra retorted indignantly. "It was your son who came after me. He told me his wife was a complete fool, that he could manipulate her any way he wanted." Several guests intervened, pulling them apart just as a full-blown fight was about to erupt. "What a disgrace," a woman said loudly. "Mr. Budrow, doesn't Naomi work for you?" "Yes, and she's the best controller I've had in 15 years, the CEO said firmly. "After this circus, The only thing I'm going to do is give her a raise. And this guy, he said, glaring at Darren with undisguised contempt, should start looking for a new job. With this kind of reputation, he won't get very far. Darren was now running back and forth between his mother, his mistress, and the increasingly hostile guests, desperately trying to salvage something from the wreckage. "People, you don't understand," he yelled. "I have the right to be happy. 25 years is a lifetime." An older woman approached him, Aunt Clarice, Naomi's aunt. "And did you ever stop to think about how she felt, living 25 years with an egotistical jerk like you?" "Aunt Clarice is right." Other family members chimed in, rallying to Naomi's defense. "What a disgrace. People like you don't belong in our family." "Good thing Naomi found out in time," added her cousin Dwayne. "Otherwise, you would have kept stringing her along for the rest of her life." "Hey, what if we upload this whole thing to social media?" one of the younger guests suggested. "Let everyone know what kind of guy this Darren Price really is." "Yes," others agreed. "We have to get #SilverAnniversaryTrader trending." "No, wait," Darren begged, his voice trembling. "Don't do that. This is my private life." "Private?" Sierra scoffed. "You humiliated your wife in front of 100 people, and now you're worried about privacy?" Slowly, the guests began to filter out of the ballroom. First Naomi's family, then her co-workers, and then their acquaintances. As they left, each one made sure to offer their opinion. "Darren Price," a colleague said on his way out, "after tonight, don't you even dare say you know me. What a disgrace to the family," a neighbor muttered, shaking his head. "How is he ever going to face people after this?" "You're trash," one of the men said bluntly as he passed. "You put your wife on display like she was some kind of joke in front of everyone." Half an hour later, only the main players in the drama remained in the ballroom. Darren, Celeste, Sierra, and a few curious waiters. "So now what?" Sierra asked, running a hand through her disheveled hair. "Do you even have any money left, Dee?" "Where would I get it?" he snapped. "I spent it all on the party and your gifts and those damn loans. Who's going to pay those back?" "I don't know. Maybe I'll sell the car." "The car?" Sierra laughed bitterly. "Are you out of your mind? That won't even cover the interest. And what about me? I left my ex for you." "I don't know," Darren repeated, his voice devoid of hope. "I don't know what to do." Celeste Price sat with her face buried in her hands, sobbing quietly. "And what am I going to tell Hayes? He charges an arm and a leg for every consultation, and I even put my house up as collateral." "Mom," Darren said, approaching her cautiously, "we'll find a solution." "A solution? I'm in my 70s. I'm going to be homeless because of your stupidity." Suddenly, Sierra stood up, straightened her purse, and said, "You know what? I'm out of here. You two are completely useless. Dee, don't ever call me again. And the money you owe me for the past 3 months? Forget about it. Consider it a payment for this life lesson." She paused at the door and turned back, a wry smile playing on her lips. "Your wife is one badass woman. It's a shame I only met the real her today. Those are the kind of women who deserve respect." And with that, she turned and strode out of the ballroom, the sound of her heels echoing sharply in the sudden silence. Darren and his mother were left alone amidst the half-eaten plates and spilled glasses. "Dee," Celeste said softly, her voice laced with desperation. "What if it's not too late? What if we go see Naomi and beg for her forgiveness?" Darren shook his head, his face etched with despair. "It's too late, Mom. You saw the look on her face. She'll never forgive us." "Then what are we going to do?" "I don't know," he repeated for the 3rd time. "I swear, I just don't know." Meanwhile, Naomi was in a taxi heading back to the condo, watching the city lights twinkle outside her window. In her purse, she carried the deeds to 3 properties and a bank statement showing over $1 million. The taxi driver, an older man with a kind face, glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" "Yes," Naomi said, smiling. "Very beautiful. You could say it changed my life. That's good. Some days just change everything. That's exactly right, she replied. Everything changed. And indeed, her life had changed forever. 3 months later, Naomi was in court, watching the life of the man she had been married to for 25 years completely unravel. Darren looked 10 years older. His hair was graying, his face was gaunt and worn, and he was wearing a cheap, ill-fitting suit instead of his usual expensive attire. The judge, an elderly woman with stern features and thick glasses, reviewed the documents carefully. Very well, she said finally, her voice firm. The court decides the following. The condo on M Street in Georgetown is the separate premarital property of Mrs. Naomi Sterling and is not subject to division. Darren visibly panicked. His lawyer, no longer Hayes, but a young public defender fresh out of law school, simply threw up his hands in defeat. The cabin property is considered marital property and will be divided equally. The same goes for the Lexus ES 300 automobile. Your Honor, Darren's lawyer stood up, his voice hesitant. My client used that car for work purposes. Denied, the judge replied dryly. The car was purchased with common marital funds. Naomi remained silent, her expression unreadable. Her friend and lawyer, Aisha, offered her a discreet smile. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Furthermore, the judge continued, it has been proven that Mr. Darren Price concealed significant debts from his spouse. A $20,000 loan from Chase Bank, a $15,000 loan from Wells Fargo, and an $8,000 quick loan. The total debt amounts to $43,000. But those are his personal debts, the young lawyer protested. According to Family Code Section 39, the judge replied calmly, debts incurred during the marriage are the responsibility of both parties. However, since the money was not used for the welfare of the family, but for the personal affairs of the petitioner, he shall be solely responsible for their repayment. Darren's face paled even further. $43,000 in debt, and it was all his. This court solemnly decides, the judge concluded, her voice ringing with authority, to dissolve the marriage between Darren Price and Naomi Sterling. The respondent retains the condo and all bank accounts. The petitioner retains half the value of the cabin and half the value of the car. No alimony is assigned, as there are no minor children involved. The sharp rap of the gavel marked the definitive end of a 25-year marriage. As she left the courthouse, Naomi felt a strange sense of peace wash over her, as if a tremendous weight had finally been lifted from her shoulders. Naomi! Darren shouted. Wait! She turned to see her ex-husband standing on the steps, clutching a crumpled folder of documents. What do you want to say? Forgive me, he said in a low, defeated voice. I was a selfish fool. You didn't deserve what I did to you. Naomi studied him closely, trying to discern the sincerity in his eyes. Was it genuine remorse? Or was he simply trying to make her feel sorry for him? Darren, she said calmly, I don't hold a grudge. We're just very different people. You always wanted an easy life, even if it came at the expense of others. I'm used to fighting for what's mine. Could we perhaps see each other sometimes as friends? No, Naomi replied softly, but firmly. I'm sorry, but no. It's better if we each go our separate ways. She turned and walked toward her car, a sleek new Audi she had purchased with part of her German inheritance. Life moved on, and everyone got exactly what they deserved. A month after the divorce was finalized, Darren lost his job. The video of the anniversary party had gone viral on social media, and his company's CEO no longer wanted to be associated with the scandal. Darren Price, his boss told him, on that last day, I just can't have someone on my team who created such a public spectacle. But hey, I'm a professional. Maybe so, she bit back. But your reputation is in the gutter. I'm sorry to say it. Finding a new job was a nightmare. Everyone recognized him. The video even had the #AnniversaryTrader hashtag trending all over the place. Nobody wanted to touch a guy like that with a 10-foot pole. He ended up driving a taxi in his beat-up old Toyota Camry, which he'd had to buy back from Naomi for $15,000, half of what it was worth. He was living with his mother now, in her tiny one-bedroom apartment way out on the edge of the city. Celeste had to sell her downtown mansion to pay off all the debts and buy something a whole lot smaller and cheaper. "Darren," she'd say to him at night, staring at the cracks in the walls, "don't you wish you'd listened to me? Never gotten mixed up with that Sierra in the first place?" "It's too late for that, Mom," Darren would reply, counting out his day's earnings. "Way too late for regrets." Sierra, on the other hand, was doing just fine, more than fine, actually. A couple of months after the scandal blew over, she got hitched to a 50-year-old entrepreneur who owned a whole string of restaurants. He was loaded, though not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. He swallowed her whole story about being in a toxic relationship with some married guy, hook, line, and sinker. The wedding photos Sierra put up on social media showed off these crazy luxurious bouquets and tons of gold jewelry. The caption read, "Finally found true love. #happy, #new life." Darren saw those pictures and just let out this really bitter laugh. Sierra had gotten exactly what she wanted. A husband with deep pockets. But it wasn't him. Naomi was on a completely different trajectory. She packed up and moved to her Aunt Josephine's investment condo down in Miami Beach. It was this huge, airy place, totally filled with light, with a killer view of the ocean, a real oasis of calm in the middle of all the city craziness. She didn't want to be an accountant anymore. With the money she'd inherited, she started up a little publishing house that focused on translations of European literature. It was her dream come true, something she'd always wanted to do. "Naomi Sterling," Mr. Budrow said when she handed in her resignation, "we really don't want you to leave. Are you absolutely sure you won't reconsider?" "Thank you," she replied, smiling. "But I found what I'm truly passionate about. I'm dedicating myself to books now. Well, I wish you all the best. And you know what? After everything that happened with your ex-husband, a lot of our female employees really look up to you. A woman's gotta know how to stand up for herself." One evening, her friend Aisha came over to visit. "You look so content," she said, taking in the cozy living room. "Do you feel like you've gotten your revenge?" "You know," Naomi said thoughtfully, "I don't feel like it was about revenge. I just feel relieved. It wasn't about vengeance at all. I just defended my rights. The truth always comes out in the end, even if it takes a while." They sat out on the balcony, sipping tea and watching the lights of Miami sparkle. "Do you regret those 25 years? "No," Naomi said, shaking her head. "Those 25 years taught me something priceless. To only rely on myself and to value honesty above absolutely everything else." Her publishing house had 5 employees, all these bright young translators. They put out beautiful books in small print runs for people who truly appreciated good literature. One day, Anna, her editor, said to her, "Your story is really incredible. My mom told me she was actually at that anniversary party. She works with your ex-boss. She says there aren't many women like you around." "I don't really think of myself as a strong woman," Naomi responded. "I just decided I wasn't going to be a victim." A year later, she got a letter from Darren. "Naomi, I don't even know if you'll read this. I just want to say that I understand now. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I lost you because I was a fool and I was greedy. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that you deserve the very best in the world. Be happy, Darren." Naomi read the letter and tucked it away in a drawer. No anger, no sadness, just a memory of a life she used to live. That night, she went out onto the terrace with a cup of coffee. Miami was glittering with lights, music was drifting on the breeze, and the air smelled like summer flowers. She was free, financially secure, and doing, on that last day, "I can't have someone on my team who made such a public spectacle. But I'm a good professional." "Maybe so, but your reputation is in the gutter." "I'm sorry." Finding a job proved incredibly difficult. Everyone recognized him. The video even had the hashtag #Sanniversary trending. Nobody wanted to hire a guy like that. He ended up driving a taxi in his old Toyota Camry, the same one he had to buy back from Naomi for 15 grand, half its original value. He was now living with his mother in her cramped, one-bedroom apartment way out on the edge of town. Celeste, meanwhile, had to sell her downtown mansion just to cover their debts and buy something significantly smaller and cheaper. She'd say to him late at night, staring at the cracks in the walls. Don't you wish you had just listened to me? Never gotten mixed up with that Sierra? It's too late, Mom. Darren would reply, silently counting his meager earnings from the day. Too late for regrets. Sierra, on the other hand, was doing just fine, more than fine, actually. A mere 2 months after the scandal blew up, she walked down the aisle with a 50-year-old entrepreneur who owned a whole string of restaurants. He was loaded, though not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. He swallowed her entire story about a toxic relationship with a married man. Hook, line, and sinker. The wedding photo Sierra posted on social media was dripping with luxurious bouquets and blinding gold jewelry. The caption read, "Finally found true love. #happy, #new life." Darren saw those pictures and couldn't help but let out a bitter little laugh. Sierra got exactly what she wanted. A husband with deep pockets. But it wasn't him. Naomi's life took a completely different turn. She packed her bags and moved into her Aunt Josephine's investment condo in Miami Beach. It was a spacious, light-drenched condo with a breathtaking view of the ocean. A true oasis of calm amidst the city's relentless chaos. She didn't want to crunch numbers as an accountant anymore. With the money she had inherited, she decided to open a small publishing house specializing in translations of European literature. It was a dream she'd held close to her heart for years. Naomi Sterling, Mr. Budrow had said when she handed in her resignation, "We really don't want you to leave. Are you absolutely sure you won't reconsider?" "Thank you," she replied with a genuine smile. "But I've finally found something I'm truly passionate about. I'm dedicating myself to books." "Well, I wish you the best of luck. And you know what? After everything that went down with your ex-husband, a lot of our female employees really look up to you. A woman's gotta know how to stand up for herself." One evening, her friend Aisha came over for a visit. "You look so content," she observed, taking in the cozy living room. "Do you finally feel avenged?" "You know," Naomi replied thoughtfully, "I don't feel any vengeance. I just feel relief. What I did wasn't about revenge. It was about standing up for my rights. The truth always comes out in the end, even if it takes a while." They sat on the balcony, sipping tea and watching the mesmerizing lights of Miami glitter below. "Do you regret those 25 years?" Aisha asked. "No," Naomi said, shaking her head. "Those 25 years taught me something invaluable. To rely only on myself and to value honesty above everything else." Her small publishing house employed 5 people, all talented young translators. They published beautifully crafted books in limited editions for those who genuinely appreciated fine literature. One day, Anna, her editor, said to her, "Your story is really something special. My mom told me she was actually at that anniversary party. She works with your ex-boss. She says there aren't many women like you." "I don't think of myself as a particularly strong woman," Naomi responded. "I just decided I wasn't going to be a victim." A year later, she received a letter from Darren. "Naomi," it read, "I don't even know if you'll ever read this. I just wanted to say that I finally understand. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I lost you because I was a fool, blinded by greed. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that you deserve all the best things in the world. Be happy, Darren." Naomi read the letter and filed it away in a drawer. No anger, no sadness, just a lingering memory of a life she no longer recognized. That night, she stepped out onto the terrace with a cup of coffee. Miami sparkled with countless lights. Music drifted on the warm night air, and the scent of summer flowers filled her senses. She was free, financially independent, and doing exactly what she loved. And for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt truly, deeply happy. In another part of the city, Darren steered his beat-up Toyota through the streets, picking up fares and constantly thinking about how someone could lose absolutely everything in a single, disastrous night. Yes, the truth will always conquer the lie, even if it sometimes takes an agonizingly long time. Did you enjoy my story? And what city are you listening from? Let's connect in the comments below. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can continue bringing you more stories just like this one. Thank you so much for your incredible support. I'm really looking forward to reading your thoughts on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more to discover on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.